Ferdinand officials are continuing to work on the town's next comprehensive plan. More on where that stands. Plus, last night wound up being a night of recognition in Huntingburg, and Dana Rekaloff and Doug Merkel discussed the upcoming Patoka Lake Cleanup Day tonight on Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. We begin with the ongoing work on the next comprehensive plan for the town of Ferdinand. Last night, the Ferdinand Town Council hosted another meeting on the matter at the Ferdinand Community Center. The meeting was open to the public, and those who did show up were actively engaged in coming up with ideas. Town officials, including Council President Ken Seacard, were happy with the efforts of those who did show up. Seacard says those on hand also represented each generation, including younger people. He says it's been impressive to have the younger generation on board as the town works on their plan.
You know, everybody's talking about the brain drain, but we look at it as a brain gain. We want our youth to go out on their own, go to college, get that learning, break out, sow your seeds or whatever, but come back to us down the road and bring that knowledge back with you. I see that happening around here with a lot of different young people coming back into the community, and it only helps us get better.
Many of the ideas last night revolved around new restaurants. Two such proposals were a Los Bravos restaurant and a new German restaurant. Last night marked the fourth meeting on a new comprehensive plan. The previous three were small group meetings with groups from Forest Park High School, local businesses, and volunteer organizations. Some of the ideas which came out of those meetings included more affordable housing, adding sidewalks on Main Street, and making a run at the Stellar Communities designation in the future. Of course, in spite of the new ideas, Seacard says there will be some ideas from the previous comprehensive plan that will be used in this plan as well.
We're going to keep those ideas from the old plan and build on them, because you can't necessarily do everything. We'll actually roll into some of the things that we've got ongoing, like the housing. Housing came up in a number of issues here. We were already working on that. This will just help go cement what we got to look at. But there were some good ideas that came up, a different kind of housing that we hadn't thought of. We'll go out there and take a look at that.
The town's last comprehensive plan was adopted back in 2007. Now, Seacard says with the meetings completed, the next steps fall to the Ferdinand Plan Commission. Seacard says the commission will work with the ideas presented through the meetings and will eventually bring ideas to the town council for their approval. Thursday night was a night of recognition in Huntingburg. Last night, the Huntingburg City Council took the time to recognize former city employees Carolyn Bartelt and Angie McDonald. Both were after-hour on-call dispatchers for the city, with Bartelt serving for 20 years prior to retiring earlier this year. McDonald worked as an on-call dispatcher for Huntingburg for 11 years. Now, back in April, the city began investigating options for handling after-hours emergency utility calls and other issues. The council decided to contract the service out, and the city is now working with Jasper and Ferdinand on a new unified alert system which would notify residents by email and a text message when there was an emergency in their city. Despite these changes in protocol, Mayor Denny Spinner is thankful for Bartelt's and McDonald's efforts.
We were able to recognize them for the years of service, combined over 30 years of being the voice on the end of the phone when dispatches went out for utility, the voice that answered the call when our citizens might have needed an emergency response. And we just felt it was appropriate as a council to recognize them for their dedication and service, and the job well done through all those years.
The other two options that were considered were continuing with the current system and hiring a new employee, and having staff at the city's water plant handle those calls, as Jasper currently does. Dubois County's annual tax sale was a huge success. The sale took place yesterday and was led by County Auditor Kathy Hope and County Treasurer Chad Blessinger. In all, Blessinger says 83 parcels of land had all taxes, penalties, and costs paid off in full. The county was able to pull in some $261,692 plus from those sales. Now, 12 other properties did not sell yesterday. Blessinger says the county commissioners now have tax liens on those parcels and can put them up for sale to the public at a later date. In a news release, Blessinger says tax sales continue to be a necessary function of county government. Blessinger says it's only fair to people who pay their property taxes every year to go after those who don't pay. The sale was coordinated by SRI Incorporated of Indianapolis on behalf of the county. SRI conducts tax sales in 83 counties across Indiana, Michigan, and Colorado. For more information on property tax sales, you can go to sri-taxsale.com. The Indiana Military Museum is gearing up for this year's Salute to the Veterans of World War II. The 8th edition of the event will take place next Friday and Saturday, September 5th and 6th on the museum grounds in Vincennes. Now, this year's event will be honoring the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II and will feature living history encampments. The experience will also include authentic camps and vehicle displays, as well as a major recreation of an Atlantic wall bunker from Normandy. The museum will bring out its famous Sherman and Stuart tanks, a German half-track, and other assorted jeeps and vehicles for the event. Of course, both days of this year's event will have a battle reenactment. Reenactors and living history interpreters are going to exhibit and talk about several different battle weapons, uniforms, and vehicles from various nations on both sides during what was the world's bloodiest conflict. The event is open to the public and all ages are welcome. Museum hours will be 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday, September 5th, and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday the 6th. Outdoor displays and camps are free. Admission to view the museum's indoor exhibits will be $5 for adults and $3 for each child. Enrollment at Indiana State University has reached an all-time high, breaking a mark that was originally set in 1970. University administrators announced the figures at a Thursday board meeting. The university has 13,584 students enrolled this fall, topping the previous high by 51 students. Fall enrollment is up 3% from last year and has now grown for 8 years in a row. Enrollment is up 30% in all from the fall of 2008. John Beacon is the school's Senior Vice President for Enrollment Management, Marketing, and Communications, and he says this year's admission applications also set a new record as more than 14,000 poured in. He says many Indiana State students see the school as a destination rather than as a second choice. And finally tonight, the American Civil Liberties Union of Indiana is challenging a new state law that prohibits voters from photographing their ballots and sharing those on social media. The lawsuit filed yesterday in federal court in Indianapolis contends the law that took effect July 1st violates Indiana voters' First Amendment rights. It names defendants, including the Indiana Secretary of State and the state's Election Commission. ACLU of Indiana Legal Director Ken Falk says voters' ability to photograph their ballot while voting and share those images with family and friends is an expression of pride and enthusiasm about voting and is a form of political speech that needs to be protected. Indiana Attorney General's office spokeswoman Molly Gillespie says the office will review that complaint and they'll file their response at the appropriate time. All right, coming up after the break, more on a weekend warm-up, and later, more on the upcoming Patoka Lake Cleanup Day on Inform. We're back after this.